So I've looked at the previous two foundation blocks of how to build a community, which focuses on building social capital and also developing that creative learning, that co-learning experience. So now let's have a look at creative thinking. I think this is a really important next stepping stone in developing a community, because what a lot of organisations don't do is inspire or bring out that creative thinking way of working and approaches. You know, a lot of organisations simply run things strategically and on point, and they don't allow that sort of thought process to make things more inspiring or more interesting for the employees in the organisation to consider. Now, creative thinking could be anything. You could gather the team together as a social experiment in order to think about how you can resolve a problem or work together in making a new sales process. So you could say it's actually bringing more social capital into the organisation. And now you can see all the different foundation blocks of the community really starting to take place. Now, creative thinking happens a lot through lateral thinking and also through brainstorms. So when you put those together, you're getting people to feel a lot more inspired. I mean, let's just look at solving a problem. You know, if you want to improve the customer service in your organisation, you may have solved the problem in the same way many different times. But you know, if you gather the team together as that social capital way of working and get them to brainstorm ideas and different ways of working, then you're letting them be more creative in their approaches and also getting their input into the situation, which makes them more empowered and makes them want to be part of the community and the organisation. Now, that's actually quite a really interesting skill to have if you're developing more of those transcultural leadership formulas. You know, you're getting the mindsets of these different people and putting them together and understanding different people's perspectives, because that's the brilliance of sort of creative thinking and transcultural ways of working. Everyone has different ideas, so why don't communities actually put more of that into what they're doing to then help them create better innovation and productivity into the organisation? So that's why I think if you're actually going to go out there and build this community, this new culture within your organisation, that's why creative thinking is going to be really important to be added in there. Now, the fourth and final stepping stone in building that community is then motivation. So in my previous videos, I've already spoken to you about building up that sharing economy of co-learning and building up that social capital. But actually getting the motivation going in the first place is the next key thing. Now, many people think of motivation as something which you drive the organisation through different rewards. However, authors like Cohn consider that to be very dehumanising, you know, and motivation should be very intrinsic, which is that self-motivation and that desire to go and build something. So that's what you need to try and create in your community, the self-motivation and that self-drive. And I think that's where the motivation is clearly linked in with the other foundation blocks which I've spoken about, you know. In order to get motivation, you need to have those social experiments and team events working to then drive it more forward in the future. So start to think about that. I've actually run quite a few experiments myself on this style of working, and within my own marketing team we gave people a load of reward-based motivation and a load of sort of self-motivation desires to do it. Interestingly, the ones with the rewards had the higher quantity of work, but their quality of work really did drop. Compare that to when you look at the more intrinsic and self-motivational styles, then their quality was really high, but obviously their work was low. But I think as a company, we need to start thinking about the quality over the quantity. Now, every company is completely different. So, you know, if you're working in a call center, you may want to still have those rewards, right? So as a leader, you need to start to think about which motivation style and how you're going to make the community fit more into what your organization is currently doing. So let's have a look back. Motivation and also the creative thinking. Now, don't forget, these are two things which you can bring into your community, whether it's a face-to-face community or whether it's a remote community, you know. Brainstorming can happen online as it much can do in people. But remember, the brainstorming and getting people to work together and making these motivational theories happening can actually be the foundations of how you build a community. Because what you should be starting to think about now as a manager is, well, if I'm going to build this community, I'm not going to build it and the board of directors aren't going to build it. The team need to build it. So when you're trying to think of what's going into the community, get them to do it, the team, brainstorm the ideas. And a really interesting case study, if you want to do more research onto this, is when Ford took over Jaguar in the UK. When they changed the organisational culture, they had all these sort of creative thinking approaches. They got the employees, the trade unions, the directors, all involved in the process, which made the workplace more inspiring and more entrepreneurial, which drove production higher. So do check out that online. So these complete the final 2 stages of building that community. Now you can check out more of my research on my website robertmitton.com or follow me on Twitter @BobbyMitton. All of my links are below.